So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, this evening. Before we start, I think it would be nice to set the tone of the presentation by just reading a Jewish Proverbs that will highlight what the presentation is about. It states, "He that can't endure the bad will not live to see the good." I think that's a very interesting one and to be thought of. My name is Deborah Alexander, and I am the coordinator for the Center for Lifelong Learning here at the University of Aruba. And as you all know, this Zoom presentation is organized by the university. It's hosted by my center, and we have been doing since the COVID-19 lockdown. We have been doing everything via Zoom, and we're happy that if we're unable to welcome you in our aula, at least we can do this from our homes or wherever we are located. Before we start this Zoom presentation, I just want for you to realize and be aware of the webinar features, and that is that you can see myself and you can see the speaker for today, but you're unable to see with whom you're in the webinar. Do know that you're not the only one. There are others looking at the Zoom webinar with you, but you are there with many others. So thank you for that. Should you have any questions for the presenter, for myself, I encourage you to do that via the Q&A box, but I encourage you to use the chat box to share with us who you are and where you're zooming in to this presentation from. So just a hi and your name, then we know. Don't be shy. Have patience with the internet. I just experienced some difficulty with logging in, and I know one of our co-presenters who's in the US and storming there at the moment. So we hope she will be able to join us, but should your internet fall out or should our internet fall out, please rejoin us, click on the link and wait till it comes back and all will be well. Your feedback is highly appreciated, so we will make sure that you receive an evaluation form where you can give us your feedback and that we're able to improve our webinars and service and products to you who are, our lifelong learners. And last but not least, we are currently taping these sessions in hope to share them with you on a later date. So please be pending for that. So today's presentation is called Living Fully, Living a Full Life During the Times of Change. This is based on the soon-to-be-released English translation of our presenter's book, Vivir con Mayúscula, has been translated into English, and I would allow our presenter to further inform you about that during the process of his presentation. This presentation also is meant as an informative and general presentation for which next week there's a possibility of registering for the workshops. So I would recommend that have you not seen this, to please visit our website, www.uaaw, to find out more information about the workshops and how you can join and for payment. So who is our presenter for today? We have the Rabbi Daniel Kripper. He is no unknown person within the Aruban, but definitely the Jewish community. Daniel Kripper is the rabbi of Beth Israel, Aruba's Jewish community, as I just mentioned, and gives lectures on coaching and spirituality. He did his postgraduate studies in Judaism and education at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He completed his training in CPE, so clinical pastoral education, healing and spiritual counseling in the United States, where he received a doctorate of divinity from the Jewish Theological Seminar in New York. In his professional work, he combines his preparation in social sciences and psychology with ethical spiritual teaching of the Kabbalah. While we also have a co-presenter, Rabbi Dr. Patricia Kopstein, who has a bachelor in psychology, a bachelor also in expressive arts, a master's in psychology, and Jewish studies. She also has a doctorate in applied religion. Diplomat, she's been ordinated and has lived all over in the US, Germany, Israel. Unfortunately, she has not been able to log in with us to this Zoom presentation because it's storming the US, but with all good faith and hope, she will be joining us later. So, as I've concluded, I would like to give the word to Daniel. Thank you.
Hi, Deborah. Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. I think Patricia, my colleague and friend, is joining our conversation now. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm happy to see her name here.
Yes. So we can wait just a few minutes. If Patricia, if you're able to share with us a minute your video and say a hi, short welcome. Can you hear us, Patricia?
Oh.
I can hear you. Can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Good. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Happy stormy day.
Yes, I think it's storming here and it's storming there as well, but we're happy that you're able to join us. I just went through your credential and Daniel was just about to start. So Daniel, I'd like to give the word over to you.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I would like to explain a little bit about the cover of the book. You've seen the image of what's called a labyrinth. A labyrinth is a very powerful symbol. It's an ancient one that started in ancient cathedrals, mainly in the Middle Ages. And it served as a metaphor of life's journey. It's like a few circlings, okay? It's a circle, several rounds of circling that leads you to a center. There are no, as opposed to a maze, okay, there are no twists and turns or blind alleys. It's just one direct path to the center as a symbol or perhaps an archetype of going to the center of yourself and then back out to the world. You go the same path back out. So this is a very powerful journey, and it's being used nowadays. It's very trendy, especially among healers at hospitals and parks. You're going to see many parts of the world using the labyrinth, the circling of the labyrinth as a let's call it a walking meditation. It's a walking meditation, and it's a very good exercise. I myself, when I'm a bit stressful or looking for a quiet place, inspirational place, I go to the labyrinth and enjoy it. But I used the metaphor of labyrinth in my book, which is called Living Fully, because my idea of life is it's a sacred journey, and the main thing is whenever you walk, you've got to do it with a sense of purpose, with a sense of direction. Sometimes, whenever we walk down the path, of the labyrinth, we are kind of distracted by so many things that we lose perspective, okay? And we forget where we are going. We forget the way we are choosing things, making decisions, sometimes important decisions. So we are operating in what's called automatic pilot modes. So I think this is a very serious thing when you operate and you walk all the time on an autopilot, as if you are driving a car, but you got the feeling that somebody else is driving the car. You are not the driver. And the main idea of the book, or behind the book, is that you've got to sit on the driver's seat. You've got to take the reins in your hands, and with a sense of purpose, with a sense of direction. And as the saying goes, choose something worth dying for and live for it. Choose something worth dying for and live for it. And this is, I would say, a great slogan, okay, or inspiration for everyone, just to walk with a sense of direction and live with a sense of a higher purpose. But as I spoke before, there are several problems along the way, okay? I call them distractions, things that take us out of our sense of direction or our real purpose. For instance, we lose perspective of where are we going. For instance, we are taken by certain emotions, I would say unhelpful emotions, that somehow block our way. For instance, sometimes we forget to appreciate whatever happens around us. It's very important, and this is the very first chapter of the book, just to help people to open their eyes and wake up. This is the main call of the book, to wake up to life and its full possibilities. The very first chapter, I deal with something that I consider in my personal life gratitude, okay? Saying thank you, from not just for formal reasons, okay, just a formality in social life, but saying thank you from your heart. It's like a gift you're giving to yourself. It's so helpful in order to help you feeling well, to feeling good. Okay, now it's proven not just by our own experience, but also according to science. Being thankful adds to the quality of your life. And of course, it's helpful in terms of reducing your stress. And it helps you to focus on the good things that happen to you, on the positive side, okay? Instead of taking things for granted. And this is very usual, it happens to us, you know, we take things for granted, sometimes important things. So the first chapter, I deal with the idea of gratitude, how to be grateful, and to convey that idea in our relationships with others, in which ways it improves our relationship with our people who are close to us, in our work relationship, etc. So saying thankful is not just important in my case, from the religious perspective, okay, but it helps you to become more spiritual, a more spiritual person. And I would say, in parentheses, that I would say it's also one of the idea of the book is to help people to develop positive habits, okay, positive values, and neutralize as much as possible, negative traits, negative habits. For instance, there are chapters like fear and anger, how to master your mind and control negative emotions, which create, I would say, negative habits. After all, man is a creature of habits. There are either positive habits or negative habits. There are constructive habits and destructive habits. So the point is how to develop good habits. And this is a real challenge. And this is one of the main themes of the book, discovering new ways to fly and to extend your wings and gain new perspectives and discover new horizons without fear. Fear is a main obstacle, you know, in order to develop yourself and to be happy. If you are full of fear, you cannot walk freely. There is one of my distinguished colleagues and a bestseller, Harold Kushner. He said that there is an 11th commandment. In addition to the 10, there is an 11th. You shall not fear. Okay, you've got to walk with courage, with enthusiasm, and with a sense of purpose in order to reach a life of excellence, of transcendence. And this is a main motive of the book, how to reach a life of transcendence and self-actualization. I'm basing myself on the findings of modern psychology, like positive psychology, transpersonal psychology, neurosciences, and on one hand, and on the other of my own tradition. I'm coming from the Jewish tradition, the most ancient spiritual tradition, and the Kabbalah teachings and Hasidism. So I've received all those teachings, and I'm trying to combine, to make kind of a synthesis in order to develop certain tools to live a better life. That's why I call the book To Live Fully, to live a full life, and to develop a life of hope, a life of happiness. And this is the last chapter. The last chapter of the book deals, or its focus is mainly on happiness, how to reach. There are some secrets in the book, little secrets, and perhaps in opposition or in contrast with some myths that are prevalent in our society, associating happiness with material possessions, with higher status, social status, etc. So modern science brings another perspective, you know, in terms of how to be happy in a deep sense, okay, in a very deep existential sense. I'm giving some clues, some tips, how to become happier in your personal life, in your attitudes, in your relationships, in significant connections, because these are the elements that make a life full of meaning, full of significance. This is more or less a summary of the main topics of the book. I would say there are I'm dealing also with some spiritual things, attitudes or values that are also bringing a moral and spiritual perspective to life in order to enrich and inspire you in your search of spirituality. For instance, I'm dealing with compassion, with forgiveness, with kindness, okay? Not from the moral perspective or religious perspective. This is not a religious book. It's not a book for scholars, for experts. It's a book for everyone who wants to improve his walk through the labyrinth of life without losing the final destination. and help make his life worth of living. Thank you.
So Patricia, this is where you come in now.
Oh, lovely.
And you share with us your experience from the other side, so living a life fully. As we discussed, as a psychologist, you have seen through the changes, the current situation where the whole world is in, how people are unable to live their lives fully. Can you tell us from the practical point of view and based on your psychological background, yeah, how do you look at what Daniel just said and what can you add to that?
Okay, I'm happy to do that. I have to say that I love his book. Living Fully is definitely one that people can use in their everyday life. You can keep by your bedside. You can refer to it back, forth, just open it up anywhere. There are exercises in there, there are activities, and these are really handy tools to have in times of change. And we are definitely in times of change. We have COVID-19, we have the plague, as some people call it. We are really worried about our health, the health of our children, the health of our elders. We're worried about our jobs. Can we work from home? How's our money going to hold out? Will there be food at the market? What do I do with my life? And then the harder questions, how do I sort of shelter in place with my family, those that I love, and remain a civil human being and not sort of a person that we don't like. So in times of change, Rabbi Kipper's book is excellent in Living Fully. I say that one of the things that I see happening more and more and more, even among professionals, is that we're all facing burnout, every single person. We just can't maintain this attitude of crisis coming from right, left, and center. And it's like we're standing on our tiptoes. And so with burnout, we tend to melt down. We either give up, we surrender, we despair. Sometimes those negative emotions just burst forth without any sort of monitor to them. So our anger comes out and we say things that we don't really want. So we need to learn how to survive the challenges. We can help ourselves, and the activities that are in Living Fully are excellent ones that we can all do ourselves in our own personal time by ourselves. So we can help ourselves. And if we find that we're really in trouble and that we've tried these things, then please ask for help, seek help. How do you know when to seek help? Well, when these problems that you're feeling, if you're feeling down or angry, despairing, if it's persistent or extremely sharp. But other than that, do the work yourself, because it's very, very enriching. If you need help, then someone will be there to help you and walk with you as you go through these changes. So what I do as a psychologist is I work with healing the self. And I say that the first thing is to recognize there's a problem. There's an ache in the mind, an ache in the body, an ache in the soul. Something isn't right. Just the same as if you have a cold or a fever, you know something's not right. If you're sad, if you're depressed, if you're feeling hopeless, these are the kinds of psychological aches or spiritual aches that we have. And we can address these with interventions. And there are very good activities that you can do. And in Rabbi Kipper's book, there are many, many exercises and activities that you can do by yourself. You can always do journaling. Write your write your own journal. You can dialogue with someone if you have a friend that you trust. You can also dialogue with yourself. You can try self-talk. Talk to yourself, and if you feel silly, stand in front of a mirror, close the door, and talk to yourself. It sounds silly. If you feel really silly, turn the water on or turn on a radio, but talk to yourself. And you might be surprised at what you're saying and what you're hearing. We always have prayer. Whatever your spiritual path is, we have prayer, we have meditation. That is looking outside of our own selves to a higher power, to a greater power, whether that be the universe and the solar system, whether that be the green world around us or the ocean and the power of the waves, or be it God, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, whoever you call as a power. Reach beyond yourself. For those who don't have as lofty a reach, they will oftentimes reach for a psychologist. So we don't take the place of prayer, but we do excellent in dialoguing. So what is the goal when you're healing yourself? I think the goal is really so that you can thrive, so that you're not in pain, so that you're not numb, so that you're not mindless. Thriving means being alive, being awake. And in times of change, such as we live in, it's really hard to thrive. But every so often you feel that spark. You feel that and just blow on that little spark and make it a flame inside yourself. We also need to develop flexibility. And this is one of those things that you forgive yourself. We talk about forgiveness and living fully. It's flexibility is you learn how to bend, just like a tree does in a storm. You learn how to bend over when there's forces against you and to come back into position. We learn how to adapt. A tree will grow around a rock in the soil. It will adapt. It wants to live. We do the same thing. So it's all about growth and not being static and not being rigid, but learning how to be happy and to cherish it and to nurture that and to be really, really alive. And that takes a bit of dusting off from time to time. It takes a bit of fine-tuning because sometimes we lose our way. Sometimes something will just knock us right off our feet, right off our center. And we pick ourselves up and we say, where is our center? And we may wobble a bit, but we do find our center. A good way for me to look at it is looking at it as a compass to say what's good for the self, for the society, and for the world around us. That's a good Geiger counter. That's a good magnet. That's a good way to center ourselves, to feel that pull of life in doing good and always reaching towards that. We're hardwired to fight, to flight, or to freeze. I would say that really fight your willingness to give up, flee from the deadness in you, and freeze in moments of rapture and joy. So you can do all those things that you're hardwired for, and you don't have to be like a deer in the headlights. You don't have to be the ruffian in the alley. You don't have to run away. You don't have to fight, and you don't have to freeze. You can live and just simply experience life. And if you need help, ask for it. If you need extra help, go to the book, dust it off, open it at a rare page and say, what's here? Because there's always going to be a gem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both Patricia and Daniel. And I'm curious from those who are joining us if there are any questions. I think it's quite hard to live fully, as I've said, and it's something we have to continuously put our effort into. and let our shame or inhibitions when things are not going well, just let them go and know that we're not the only one. I mean, I can share from personal experience that in the COVID, there are many new learning moments and steep learning curves that I have had to endure. And at times they might have seemed quite overwhelming, that you think this is the end of it. But I can look back and think, thanks to embracing that I can live fully and be here. So, but it's a process. And I think people have to realize that it's not that 1, 2, 3. So I think it was quite clear because no one is asking any questions. So that says a lot. But I think you've put people to think, and either are aware of this, maybe they've read your book even, Daniel, and they're looking forward. When is your book coming out again? In the ebook version?
The ebook, it's through in Kindle. It's going to be, I would think, in the coming days. I would say in 2 weeks or so, in English.
In English.
And it is in Spanish already there. And hopefully next week, the 16th, July the 16th, there is a webinar, a workshop scheduled in which we can go deeper into certain topics that help people to stay alive. And so the workshop is going to be around the main topics of the book, with specific guidelines and more inspiration, how to keep a positive outlook and spirit in times of crisis, how to remain optimistic in spite of everything, all the craziness that goes around us, and keep going, and with the right spirit, okay, with the right attitude, altitude, okay. So this is my wish. I hope you join us coming week for the seminar, for the workshop, and so we can help each other to find our way and our destination.
Yes, definitely. For specific dates and time, there's a Spanish version and there's an English version of the workshop. I would recommend that you go to www.ua.aw. I believe, if I correctly out of my head, it's the 15th and the 16th. And you're able to join. It only costs 25 guilders. But I believe with the practical tips and tricks that Daniel is going to be given, and I believe, Patricia, you might be joining us as well, back again or not, it could help you to live your life fully, as you say in Spanish, vivir con mayúscula, live it fully. And that's what we want in these times of change. So having said that, and seeing that there are no further questions, I would like to thank you, Daniel, and thank you, Patricia, for being here with us and for sharing and inspiring others to live their life fully. And hopefully they will be able to buy the book and continue on this journey and, come to us next week for the workshop. So I thank you very much for your time, and everyone else Zooming in. I wish you a pleasant evening further into the night, and look forward to seeing you again at one of our Zoom's presentations at the Center for Lifelong Learning here at the University of Aruba. Thank you and have a pleasant evening.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.